We are up to 10-1 called rational exponents. Bottom line, got to remember your rules, a lot of your old rules. So let's review a couple. I'll just throw them right here. When the bases are the same and you're multiplying, you add. But if you raise a power to a power, you multiply. And I might as well throw this one in for free. If you're dividing, you subtract. So 7 minus 2 would be 5. All right. With that in mind, we got to add some stuff, okay? I'm going to start out with some extremely simple stuff, and then we're going to kind of go into maybe a world where you're a little confused, it's new to you, or you haven't seen it in a while, one or the other. So first of all, the square root of 49, if you want to get really technical, would be plus or minus 7. Now, some of you might have said, well, I thought you were saying you only need the principal root. You're right. If it's written like this is strange, but they only want the principal root, which is like, just give the positive. Now, let's just think about this. If you're on an ACT, SAT college entry exam and they have an option that says plus or minus 7, I'm circling that one. Unless the instructions say give only the principal root. I don't think they'd be that wicked with you as far as instructions go, but you never know. All right, the real point I'm trying to make is, see this? What is 7 squared? Well, 7 squared is 49. So isn't this the same problem as this? And the answer is yep. So my answer is going to be 7, but I'm going to do it differently. Now, some of you are like, well, I don't want to do it differently. But that's where Algebra 2 is taking you. They're going to present problems to you differently. You just need to recognize what they're asking you to do. So maybe I'll just categorize this as a different language of Algebra 2. Notice I've made this one red. So what we're going to do, here's your technique. You're going to take that 7, just slide it over, then you're going to build a fraction. The power of what's called the radicand, or the number underneath the radical, goes in the top. That's why I made it red. The index always goes in the bottom. I'm going to say that again. The index goes in the bottom. One more time for good measure. The index goes in the bottom. That's going to be a huge point to this lesson. So what is this? Well, that's 7 to the first power, because 2 divided by 2 is 1. What's 7 to the first power? 7. Some of you would say, well, I'd never do it that way. I know, you probably wouldn't, but this is heading in a direction which is going to help you understand how to do these. So what about this rascal? Well, if I'm sitting in your seat right now, I'm probably going to figure out that first and just say, all right, that's the square root of 4 times 4 times 4. Let's just show our work. That's 16 times 4, which is 64. And you all should know what the square root of 64 is. That's 8. Now let's try something a little different. Let's take the square root of 4 first, and then ignore that 3. What's the square root of 4? 2. Bring the 3 along. Do we get the same answer? Yes. Now, back here, I heavily emphasize the index goes in the bottom. The index goes in the bottom. These are very similar to your homework problems. Now, I'm going to take the negative off of this one just for kicks, to kickstart it. That's what I meant. I was going to say for kicks and giggles. No. To kickstart it. So here we go. What did I say the denominator was over here? I said it was the index. So I'm going to encourage you guys to do that first. I'm going to show you something in a minute. So what does that mean? It means figure out the cubic root of 8. Well, what's the cubic root of 8? 2. But then I have to do that second. And then what's 2 squared? 4. Now, what if a student said, well, I'm going to do this first? Well, then you're going to get 8 squared, which is 64. Then you're going to take the cubic root of 64, which you're going to go, I haven't seen many cubic roots, so this is a little uncomfortable for me. You still get 4. But I like to obey the index first because your numbers are going to get drastically smaller before they get bigger. Instead of inflating the problem, making the radicand big, and then take this index of it. I just don't like that technique. Now in this one, all you have added is a negative. And if you remember the lesson on negative exponents and the way I taught it, put me where I ain't. That's what the negative is in the exponent. It's telling you a direction, an instruction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore this because I don't want to confuse anybody. What's the danger of ignoring it? You might forget. But I'm just going to figure this out. So I'm going to go cubic root of 8. That's 2. Now I got to square it. That's 4. But I know there was a negative, so there's a -1 still lingering. That's telling me put the 4 where it ain't, which means put it downstairs. So there's your final answer, 1/4. All right. That should be a good warm-up, getting you guys ready for your packet problems.